Well, hello everybody, it's Connor here outside Elland Road, reacting to the latest news which has just come out. Hopefully you can hear me okay, I'm sure you can. Don't have the muffle on my mic today, but as I stand in front of this prestigious stadium, Leeds United have a very, very tough task ahead of them tomorrow against QPR. But Daniel Farke has just done his press conference somewhere in and around here, and Leeds United have got some big news. Farke has spoken pretty obviously about the running. He sees Leeds United as having a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to the opposition. Beren Cross did ask him about an advantage, a potential advantage in the Ipswich comparison. You know, Leeds United playing a lot of their games before the team who Leeds United are in pretty much direct competition with. Farke didn't see it as a disadvantage in terms of a performance aspect. He still believes Leeds United can get to those levels which can get them over the line, but he did continuously go on really about the problems when it comes to load. The load of his players, that word, that L word, was used quite significantly in the press conference, to be quite honest with you, which I found interesting. Listen, I think it's pretty obvious, but in football, niggles are pretty much something that footballers have to deal with from around about January onwards. It's a constant problem, it's a constant issue of getting them involved with big games, big deciding games, and listen, it can be a real problem getting them ready, even 40, 50%, 60% fit, and that's from speaking to some people, you know, down here who are within the club. It's a difficult prospect, and Leeds United have managed it quite well. Obviously, the surgery when it's come to Jorginho Rutter, the surgery when it's come to Pascal Strout, they were actually put back for significant periods of time, and that's because Leeds United needed, obviously, their players readily available, key players readily available for the running. But overall, his press conference was almost sort of signified by one piece of news, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit, and what I would do to get around that, and how I don't think Leeds will lose that much, hopefully, in terms of how QPR are going to set up. But overall, he was speaking about the mentality of his side, and he was also asked, you know, can you celebrate? You know, can you celebrate your side essentially getting a win the other night? You know, you saw Nonto on the pitch doing the Georgie Let's Go, which you can get merchandise, link in the description below, everybody, if you fancy that. But yeah, that's printed on a hoodie for you and a t-shirt. But you know, and he was asking, can you players really celebrate after such a significant victory? You know, 2 games left and it's not really in your hands, which is not. You know, Ipswich win all of their games, they go up automatically, and fair play to them. But you know, the big thing was, Farke said that he wants his team to celebrate. You know, he wants his team to have these moments of which, you know, football is all made up of. And I think that's right. I think the team have to get the balance correct, and that's the issue that Leeds are finding right now. It's getting that balance correct. It's not getting too high with the highs and not getting too low with the lows either. And I think that's significant when you're in a mentality race, which we are at this moment in time. And everyone behind me will know this. Inside that ground, Leeds are still, I mentioned the stadium the other day, and the 49ers speaking to shareholders within the Leeds United sphere, and that having, you know, significant impact next year, and the 49ers are planning for that now. So if they're planning for that now, there is a significant confidence within the group that Leeds are going to go up. So that's great. It's great that they're getting these plans in place. It looks like Leeds United are doing this in the background, and it significantly makes me a little bit more confident that Leeds are going to be better prepared for this Premier League campaign than we were last time under Victor Orta, Radrizzani and co. I feel like Leeds at this moment in time feel like a club in waiting for the Premier League, and I think that, you know, unfortunately we've just taken this little bit of a bend of the knee at the most important time. However, that win against Middlesbrough was crucial. We all know that. Absolutely significant in the landscape of automatic promotion. So Daniel Farke was speaking about the cup competition regarding Coventry, and why the Ipswich game was rearranged, whereas the Leeds United games are just rearranged purely on the basis of Sky Sports want to rearrange us in certain fixtures for certain days. So it's an absolute crippling effect to Leeds United's load, that L word again. But the significant thing that came out of the press conference here today is that Patrick Bamford has picked up a bruised knee against Middlesbrough. Significant, really, because we have to say, and I'm not Pat Bamford's biggest fan when it comes to his impact. But what I will say is, I think it was probably his best game of the season against Middlesbrough. I thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant in leading the line. I thought his effectiveness against the two centre-backs was very good. His link-up play was excellent. He was very, very accurate when it came to layoffs, link-ups. He wasn't sloppy whatsoever. And he played himself into another starting spot. And as I mentioned, it's quite significant because we've mentioned several times with Pat Bamford that he's a streaky striker. And if Pat is able to get himself into a little bit of a run for these last 3 games, which started at Borough, fantastic. You know, that's only going to aid the squad with his experience as well. Is he good enough? I do have to say, for me, he's, as I've mentioned several times, I don't need to keep going over this, but I don't think he is long term. But for a 2 to 3 game period, absolutely we need, and Pat Bamford really could have put Leeds in a very advantageous position, but like Dan James, it looks like he's going to find himself on the substitutes bench. The positive that Leeds do have though is he's a doubt. Okay, he's a doubt. Now that doesn't mean he's completely out. He's a big doubt, but it doesn't mean that he's out. So could this be a little psychological play by Daniel Farke? That's something that we've seen managers do, and I believe at points this season we've seen Daniel Farke do that as well. But at this moment in time, when it comes to Leeds United's replacement out wide, when it comes to Jayden Anthony, I think who's going to be pretty much uplifted in that pecking order when it comes to Dan James. I think that's a brilliant replacement. I'm absolutely loving the fact, and then Daniel Farke was speaking about adequate replacements today. He feels complete confidence in other substitutes that he has to come into this one. Obviously, we're looking at Jayden Anthony, Mateo Joseph, Joel Perreault. I don't think personally, if Bamford is out, it is good enough starting Joel Perreault. And hopefully I'm wrong if he does start him, and we're all going to support him if he does start. But I think with the likes of Dunn at the back, with the likes of Steve Cook at the back, I think Mateo Joseph for this game is almost perfect. Constantly playing in behind the line of QPR. We've got a little bit of an extended preview out later on, everybody. We've got Generation Leeds as well if you want to check that out on the Patreon. But I think that is almost the perfect replacement right now. I don't want Steve Cook, Dunn and co at the back for QPR having an easy night with Joel Perreault just playing in front of them. There's no point in that. There's no point in him just getting in the way of Rutter and getting into that number 10 spot. You need a player who's playing in and behind that defensive line. Now, a key example of this was Ben Woodburn, who was doing this a lot for Preston the other day, getting in and behind Cook, getting in and behind Dunn, and really making it a difficult evening, a difficult day for them in terms of just that back line, but they just didn't do it enough. And that rotation between Miller, between Ben Woodburn was working for Preston. Now, if Leeds do this effectively with the front line that we've got, the interchanges, the pace, the agility, especially with throwing Mateo Joseph into that mix, that is only going to help Leeds United for me. It's only going to help Leeds United. There is a significant pace increase that we can put on this front four with letting Patrick Bamford out of this starting lineup. Now, Bamford gives you a lot, and listen, when I say a lot, I don't think he has done for the best part of 7, 8, maybe even 9 games, and that's sort of built in terms of his record. 3 goals in 10 starts before the Borough game. Not really good enough for Leeds United, who need goals aside from Rutter and Nonso and Somerville. But the beauty of this is now Pat Bamford was playing himself into form. Is there going to be a little psychological impact? Is he going to have, by Daniel Farke, meaning that he is going to play some part in this game? I believe that there will be. But the beauty is the replacement in Mateo Joseph against the QPR. Pace terrifies defenders. Pace absolutely frightens defenders. Ask anybody in the game, they do not want to come up against pace. Pat Bamford's movement, we all know, over a period of time is pretty decent. I think it's been off for the past couple of months, but it is pretty decent overall. But listen, Mateo Joseph is a different calibre, and the beauty is he's done it for club and he's done it for country, and he is hungry. I think he's got that tenacious attitude which is going to bring him into this game, and he's not going to be scared. He's not going to be sort of moved off by the pressure. I don't think he feels pressure like that. I think he's one of those characters, those aggressive, hungry characters who wants to stake the claim. And I think he is a much more attractive prospect for this game than a Joel Perreault, who I think is going to sit just in front of that back four. So I think Daniel Farke has got some decisions to make, some big decisions to make. Does he go with Joel Perreault, a tried and tested centre forward who's done it at this level? I've got a little bit of a thought process that he will. However, if this is based on a meritocracy, Mateo Joseph, in my opinion, has shown a hell of a lot more in the games that he's played. and should be starting against QPR if Pat Bamford is out of this one. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Fascinated to hear what you think. Like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.